Hey everybody, welcome to the Life of a Single Mom channel. I'm Jennifer Maggio and we are so excited that you're joining us today. Today we're talking to mamas who are tired, you are beat up, you are exhausted, you are overwhelmed, you have endured financial challenges, you have gone through some parenting challenges, you have health issues. Mamas, if that is you, then you need to stay tuned for today's episode as I have invited some friends to talk about staying on the wall. So welcome to LaShonda and Alicia. Thank you for being here today. Okay, so we're talking today about really what it is to stay on the wall. What does that mean? Where does that figure of speech come from? And I want to start by reading the word in Nehemiah 6:1-3 to launch our conversation. Now it happened that when Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem the Arab, and the rest of our enemies heard that I had rebuilt the wall and that there were no breaks left in it, though at the time I had not hung the doors and the gates, that Sanballat and Geshem sent to me saying, "Come, let us meet together among the villages in the plain of Ono." But they thought to do me harm. So I sent messengers to them saying, "I am doing a great work so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and go down to you?" Now, we know that this is the example of where Nehemiah has been called to rebuild the wall. He's gone in, he's done all the hard work. There were obstacles along the way. We know the story. And then he has these guys that are coming in basically under the guise of having a conversation. Okay, yes. So friends coming in that are having, we can get off on that. But and then he says he knew that they were coming to do him harm, and so he basically says, "Why should I get off the wall that the Lord has called me to? The purpose, the plan, the anointing of God that has been put upon my life to come down and see to what you've got going on." And as we segue into our conversation for today, and these mamas that are out here that have been parenting these babies alone, they are exhausted, worn out, working 2 jobs, balancing the sports and all the demands. We know the drill. Okay, I've got grown kids now. I've done all the seasons of life, and I know the level of exhaustion that as mothers we can endure. Yeah. But I also know getting to that place of wanting to give up and get off the wall. Yeah. Like it's like everything in you wants to get off the wall. Yeah. You are tired, you've been building a long time, the obstacles continue to come. So let's talk about that. Have you been to that place where you felt like, I am DONE? Alicia, you want to start? Like, what have you felt? Just sheer exhaustion?
All the time. Yeah, all the time. And honestly, it wasn't until the last few years that I began to learn how to fight that desire to give up. With spiritual warfare, growing up even in a church all my life, that was never really talked about how to fight that and be able to take the stand and step into my authority to be able to stay on the wall. I didn't know what that looked like, I think probably that's the case for a lot of people that have grown up in church. And you go to church on Sunday morning, Sunday night. We used to do Wednesday nights as well, but we didn't look anything like that during the week, any other day of the week. It was just. That's just what we did, and then we just went back to acting, this way. And so for me, I've struggled very much with that, and having to learn what that looks like to take those thoughts captive, to desire less of friends, what friends have for me, or to have my say in things. Like for this season, for me, the Lord has really been challenging me to be quiet. Yeah. Just be quiet. You don't have to always have something to say. You don't always have to be up in the middle of it. And I also don't have to be there to defend myself. God is going to take care of me for those things. And I struggled with that as a single mom. You feel like you're like on the wall alone a lot of the times, like having to be the warrior, having to, be constantly in protection mode, and that's not what the Lord has for us. I think or at least for me in this season, He's been teaching me that I don't have to do that. That He's there to do that for me, and that's been a very hard thing to walk through as a single mom because you rely on yourself, so much, and we take pride in that as well.
Or that's what we're taught.
Yeah, that's what we're taught. That's how you're supposed to do.
It's a culture of boss babe diva.
Right, that's it. Yeah,
and that is the I can do it. I can,
And there's something wrong if you can't. Like you're not a good person or something.
It's not even God's design.
That's right. It's
this whole spirit that is sent on assignment, frankly, to women to emasculate men and to be boss babes is nonsense.
It is nonsense.
You may be the leader of your household for a season. You may have to raise those children up in the way that they should go. As single mothers, that's where the season is.
That's right.
But the truth of the matter is that if you get into that spirit, then you don't know how to submit and surrender. You don't know how to lay down because all it's been is the protection.
Right.
But LaShonda, I want to talk about, when we talk about being on the wall and we talk about these obstacles that are coming, and I read one in Nehemiah. If you read the whole book of Nehemiah, there's so many things that happens that are obstacles for him. But he made the decision to not come off the wall.
Right.
And I think that's the critical piece of what we want moms to see today is does not mean, like you said, I'm exhausted a lot. That's not a new emotion or feeling for me. I am, the parenting challenges come. The financial challenges come.
Sure.
So what are some things that the Lord has taught you about how to actually stay on the wall? What are some things that you have been successful, I guess?
There's no other wall I would rather be on than the wall of the Lord. I feel that I have tried to do it in my own strength so many times, and I have always failed at it. And I've always become overwhelmed, and I've struggled. But in this season, as I'm relying on the Lord, as my children are going into this new season of life, there's nothing else I can do but be on the wall because it reminds you that so much is outside of your control. And when you stay on the wall, you can completely surrender because you know that even if they're doing this, you won't be moved. Even if they're doing that, you won't be moved.
Yeah.
Prayer.
Yeah.
Like standing on the wall, it means prayer.
Yeah.
It means staying in that secret place. Meaning crying out to the Lord means being in your word and not coming down even when you're provoked by your children, even when you're provoked by their fathers, even when you're provoked on your job, not coming off the wall because the enemy will use any tactic to try to get you off that wall, any distraction to move you from a place, that posture to where your heart is completely surrendered. Your children are completely surrendered to the Lord.
Yeah.
And so what has worked for me is just constantly praying. Like you say, meditate on my word day and night. So making sure that even when I'm working, it's in my mind.
Yeah.
Even though things are going on, right?
Well, I think that's exactly it. It's we've talked so much about people who have no tenacity in their prayer life, like they just weren't taught to pray, and so they really don't know how. That's one of the reasons our ministry has how to pray as part of our part of what we do in Single Mom University and other places, because people weren't taught how to pray, and so they don't know how to have any tenacity. They have been taught how to give up. They have seen modeled giving up in a number of areas. And it's always amazing to me that people have the tenacity for social media, they have the tenacity for sports, they have the tenacity for any number of other things, but when it comes to prayer, they don't. And yet the prayer life is what keeps you on the wall.
Absolutely.
It's when every other distraction is down screaming at you, and you can just look off the wall and be so prayed up and protected. A couple of other things that I jotted down here is moms understand the assignment and understand the season. It was one of the things that the Lord showed me that that there is a season for everything under the sun, and so you are called in a season to build the wall. Okay, you're on the wall, so this is the assignment. So you can't be moved by emotion, by circumstance, by others, because you have the assignment now. And then the other piece of it is understanding that that assignment will be a season. Now the season may be a long season or a short season, but it is a season. And so when you understand that, it's like, okay, even if it's hard right now, even if right now my lot in life is a difficult one, it's still, the truth is, girls, if you parent your children alone until they become adults, it still is only a snippet of your life. Like it's like 20 years of your life from what is an average life expectancy of 80 or 90 years. So you still got 60, 70 years that it isn't that season. And so I think that's one of the other things that's important for moms to recognize is that whether it's the toddler season, the teen season, somewhere in between, it will be short-lived.
Right.
It will be.
Jennifer, you
go
know
ahead.
why standing on the wall is so hard? Because you were in that secret place. And we can have a tenacity for social media, friends, and all these things because that's something that we're doing.
Yeah.
We're a society that wants to do. And in prayer, you're surrendering.
Yes.
That's true.
And it's hard to surrender things that you love and you hold so close to your heart until you realize that it was His first.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why sometimes it can be so hard to stay on the wall, because most times you're doing it in that secret place alone. Nobody's there to kind of help build you up at times. Atta girl, you pat you on the back, you're doing a good job. You're doing that. You're fighting on your knees before the Lord.
Yeah.
And that sometimes you have to do that even when you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Even when the flesh is crying out like, let's go back to sleep. Let's go do this. Let's do another parenting class because that's going to fix everything.
Yes.
Because that's something that we're doing, and we're not used to sitting still in His presence.
Well, if we can get busy, then we don't have to deal with anything else.
true.
We can get busy in ministry. We can get busy at our church. We can get busy with parenting and getting the kids here and there and everywhere. Like, as long as we stay busy, then we don't actually have to sit in the secret place and allow the Lord to minister and allow the Lord to reveal and expose and all of these things. And so it's very true. The busyness is certainly a component of tearing us off the wall. There are any number of things. Well, you know, whether it is a man that comes along that's attempting to tear us off the wall and it's not God's best for us, whether it is, a job opportunity that the Lord has not ordained for us. It could be any number of distractions that are strategically, by the way, sent from the kingdom of darkness to pull you off your wall. But the assignment is there, and the wall doesn't. If Nehemiah would not have accepted his assignment, the wall wouldn't have been built. And so what is the assignment that's in your life that the Lord has called you to that won't get done if you don't do it? And it's not that He can't use a rock, but He has chosen to. Like, He's chosen to use us. What a great honor.
Right, it is an honor.
To raise up our babies and to be good moms and to do all these things that you're doing.
Right.
Children are a heritage of the Lord.
Yes.
By birthright.
Yes. That's, it's just as if we have lost what it is to really walk in the fruitfulness of the Lord, really the honor and joy of being called to do, to raise up children. It is when we start looking at all that has been sent on assignment to pull us off the wall. And we start looking at the intentionality of fasting, of praying, of being in the Word, of getting in the secret place, of actually rebuking whenever there is an assignment that comes to say, oh no, what I'm not going to do is get off the wall. Like, no matter what happens, what's his name? Sand bullet. What's not happening today is I'm getting off the wall. Because, as for me and my house, we're going to accept the assignment. And there's such power in that. I'll just close with pressing past the fear. I think about when actually, if you read the story of Nehemiah, he actually has to go to the king and ask for permission to go and rebuild the wall. And I thought about what level of fear he would have had. And I think about the obstacles that moms have and the fears associated with those things. Oh, the fear that my kid's going to become this, or the fear I'm not going to be enough, or all of these fears. Part of staying on the wall is rebuking fear.
That's right. Yes. That is true. That is a big piece of it.
And then putting on that full armor. You talked about that earlier about understanding spiritual warfare. Going back to Ephesians 6 and saying, have I been undergirded with every piece of the armor? Every piece. Like, do I got it all on today? Not just a couple of pieces, but is it all on? And am I operating in it? Am I wielding the shield and the sword? These are the techniques that are going to be necessary for us to stay on the wall. And let me tell you, the wall ain't exclusive to single motherhood.
Oh, no.
It is grandmotherhood, it is wifery, it is any number of seasons. Staying on the wall, the assignment is going to be necessary. So, hey girls, thanks so much for your thoughts today on this. Hey mamas, I hope that you gleaned some things from our time together as we talked about staying on the wall. Mama, you can do it. It is your assignment. It is merely a season, and the Lord your God goes before you in Jesus' name.